I can't believe this has happened. People are greedy and stupid, and stuff like this happens, I guess, all the time, unfortunately.
Please note that this content is for adults only. Viewer discretion advised. If you haven't yet, hit the subscribe, like, and share. Hello everyone and welcome back to another live stream with me, Grizzly K. This is Grizzly True Crime, and today we are going to be reading through Jessy Kurczewski's 37-page crazy letter. Okay, thank you to one of the Grizzlies, Mary, for actually going to the Waukesha County courthouse and getting a physical copy for us. That is amazing. Thank you so much, Mary. I appreciate it so much. That courthouse says they can only fax it or send you a physical copy, so it was really difficult to get hold of, and I couldn't be more grateful, and I'm sure the Grizzlies are very, very grateful too. So we're going to be reading through a letter. We're waiting for her sentencing hearing as well. If you haven't been following this trial, I would recommend starting with the description box and reading the case background there. There's a good overview for you there. And then the playlist for this entire trial is available for you, okay? Defluffed, which means we cut out all the tea breaks and the lunch breaks and the paper flapping and all that kind of stuff. Now today is going to be a wild one, okay? Because Jessy Kurczewski's attorneys have filed a motion to withdraw. So the judge, Judge Dorow, I'm so thankful that this is Judge Dorow that's going to be handling this. She will have to decide, is she going to grant the motion or not? The thing is, do you guys remember in the trial, there was that other guy, the third attorney, that was there for the financial sort of questions. And I saw on the court docket today that his name is there, which would mean that maybe those other two attorneys, Donna Kuchler and Pablo Galaviz, will be granted the motion to withdraw, and he will be representing Jessy Kurczewski. Either way, I think they're all going to be in the courtroom, and it's going to be very snarkalicious is what I'm thinking it would be. Okay, welcome everyone. Thank you, mods, for everything you do. Are we ready, guys, to dive into this letter? I want to first show you the letter. Yes, Jessy has done a voice interview as well with TMJ4, where she said that she regrets not taking the stand. She claims that she doesn't know anything about this person or this letter or anything like that. Like, what in the hell, lady? This woman can lie like none other. Like, it's actually unbelievable. So, first and foremost, thank you so much, Mary. Yes, so hold on one second. NET says, why did the lawyers want out? I think because of what Jessy Kurczewski implied in her letter, that it was her lawyer's idea for her to write that letter, and because the letter didn't go out via jail mail, which could imply that maybe one of them helped her get that letter out. But we don't know. We'll have to see what happens today. Okay, mods, if you can help me, I know you already do, I'm just letting you know for everyone as well. If you could help me thank people for stickers and for their Grizzly versaries like this, thank you so much, Angie. That would be a great help because we need to power through this letter because it's long, okay? It's wild, and the hearing is set to start in 55 minutes. So wish us luck with that. If we don't finish, we'll just finish at a later stage, okay, after the hearing. Okay, so firstly, thanks to Mary, as I say. And now let's dive into this. So I'm going to have to just quickly, I've transcribed everything else for you, don't worry. So here they say, How about that? Enclosed is a packet of 37 pages that are dated November 22nd and were received by the Waukesha County Sheriff's Department on November 26th of 2023. This packet of papers is comprised of Ms. Kurczewski's initial letter to the recipient, followed by many pages of instructions whereby Ms. Kurczewski asks and instructs the recipient how to create fraudulent documents, along with a fraudulent cassette tape recording. The recipient received this packet of papers at her home and was disturbed by what Ms. Kurczewski was asking of her, and ultimately the recipient decided to turn them over to law enforcement. So grateful they did. The state wishes to point out that the original paperwork was double-sided, which is important to note, as Your Honor reads through the papers, because Ms. Kurczewski's substantive instructions were written on the back of her own trial notes. So remember when we saw it during the trial, writing? Well, now we know what she was writing. She was already probably formulating her plan. All right. I'm reading this one a little bit fast. Don't worry, I won't read everything so fast. This is just the background of what is this. But we went through this 2 streams ago. Maybe it was even the last stream. We went over this already with snippets that we had, okay, of this letter and all of that. So let's just see what else they say here. They say, written on the back of her own trial note pages from the recent trial held between October 23rd and November 14th, 2023. For example, pages 17 and 18 of this packet are the same, but for the exception of a post-it note that Ms. Kurczewski utilized as a means of showing the recipient where the recipient should place a fraudulent copy of a notary stamp on that document. Page 19 is the reverse side of that same sheet of paper and contains Ms. Kurczewski's notes taken during trial. The same is true of page 20 and page 21. So you will see it. There is a little post-it note like, oh my word, she's so calculated. She put a post-it note trying to indicate to her friend, who's also named Jessica, and might be the lady we always saw in the back of the courtroom on Jessy's side of the court. Everyone was wondering, who is that? What? Maybe that's her friend, but like, wow, Jessy sure took advantage of her friend, right? As she does with everything we've learned about her. So they say page 19, 20, 21 is the same, but for Ms. Kurczewski's instructions on where to place a fraudulent notary stamp. So this was from the Waukesha County Office of the District Attorney. So page 1, 2, and 3 is over here. You could see it says, and page 22 being the reverse side of that paper containing Ms. Kurczewski's trial notes. This pattern continues throughout the remainder of the 37 pages. This is important to note because Ms. Kurczewski has now written new, fraudulent letters purporting to be from Lynn Hernan, dated in 2016 and 2017 on the back of her paperwork from which obviously occurred in 2023. Wow, these have all previously been provided to Ms. Kurczewski's attorneys. Very truly yours, Randy Sitzberger, the district attorney. Okay, so page 1, page 2, and then the envelope is page 3. All right, now let's go into this letter. You better buckle up, guys. Get your buckles, and Walmart is actually also mentioned. That's when you know it's really bad. Sorry, Walmart. But she's like telling her friend, go to Walmart. So what I've done is Mary sent me, so she got a physical copy, right? And she took pictures of all the pages, which I'm so thankful for. There's 39 pages, right? And so what I did was I downloaded those images and then I put them into this presentation so you could see it on the left. But Jessy's handwriting is quite difficult to read. So then I've transcribed it, okay? So I'm going to be reading what I've transcribed and you can see her handwriting on the left-hand side, all right? The hearing is going to, the sentencing hearing, and I hope it ends in sentencing, is going to be starting at past, so in 50 minutes time, all right? Okay. Mary, if you are in chat, could you please let us know that it's you? Because we've got a couple of Marys here that are Grizzlies, so just let us know that I'm the one who got the documents if you can. Then the mods can tag you and then maybe I can see it, but thank you so, so much. Okay, so Jessy Kurczewski wrote to a friend saying, Dear Jessica. So ironically, we already start the letter off of, okay, so there's Jessica and there's Jessy. Don't be confused now. She said, okay, I wanted to thank you for being a friend through this crap. I mean that. Some days I feel so alone, and now even more so. I feel very selfish lately. Oh, lately. Okay, anyway, I'm going to try not to snark and just read it. We can maybe do a second session or a member session or something sometime, because this letter is so snark worthy. But we need to get through the letter, okay? So I'm just going to read it. Some days I feel so alone, and now even more so. I feel very selfish lately, and I hope I told you. I'm sorry for your loss, your brother. I haven't asked either how you're doing. I wrote it as she did, so do not tell me that I can't spell your. What I've got on the right-hand side is her spelling. You're going to see some funny things later. Okay. Or your kids. I hope all is well. I appreciate you coming for court and both your friends. Please tell them too. I don't know, Jess. This is just insane to me. I sit here day in, day out, reliving and replaying everything. I cannot spend the rest of my life locked away for something I didn't do. This isn't right. I wish I had the jury names. I so want to reach out. I'm losing my mind about this. If I'm honest, I don't know how much more I could take. I've waited 4.5 years for this to be made right, and it got 10 times worse, not better. I don't want to be here anymore. I'm so strong in my faith, but right now, I can't even open my Bible. I don't understand. I can't go a day without breaking down at my new reality. She wrote staring at these walls. Now, I will admit, Bible, I spelled wrong. I spelled it wrong, but that's a typo on me, okay? I think. Let me just check. Yeah, that's my typo. I take responsibility for that. But she said, I can't open my Bible. I don't understand. I can't go a day without breaking down at my new reality, staring at these walls. I keep thinking of all the things I won't ever do or have. The hardest ones is not being able to see my grandparents before they pass and not being able to have kids. I'm glad I don't with all this, but by far that's one I get super emotional about. It's what I always wanted. All right. Let me just quickly put this out there. If you guys are giving me breaking news of Richard Allen, go look at my community tab. We already talked about that about 2.5 hours ago. We know about it, okay? So we're focusing on this right now. Please focus on this case right now. We will get to that. Believe me, I'm keeping a close eye. So she says, then there's my mom I worry about. Angie says, cry me a river. She said about her mom. She's got nobody left. She would have taken her life long ago, but I needed her. This Jessy is very obsessed with people taking their life, my goodness. She's struggling with all of this and blaming herself because she couldn't deal with Lynn anymore. So I stepped up to help Lynn daily when she stopped and because she couldn't testify. We had a pact. If things went wrong like this, we were both checking out. Now please pay attention to the language because she says we were both checking out, and later when she's pretending to be Lynn in letters, she also talks about checking out. The same language she uses for herself, she tries to be Lynn, but she uses the same wording, like didn't take a dime from her and checking out and all the same kind of stuff. Okay, so I'm trying to fight and hang on, but it's so hard. I feel like I'm fighting a lost cause. This country is so crooked. It's not even funny. You should see just what I've uncovered in Discovery since that ended, that they lied on the stand about. It's so wrong. So I talked with one of my attorneys about stuff in person, and I got a biggie for you to ask of you. First off, this is big. So I think she means first off, this is big. I trust you, and whether you help or not, this is something I need you to take to your grave. Even this envelope didn't go through jail mail. My attorney took it. This was one of my attorney's ideas, and clearly they aren't going to tell anyone. See, right after that, I don't know, man, if that's got anything to do with Donna Kuchler and Pablo Galaviz withdrawing, but it sounds pretty hectic. If you missed the stream where we looked at the withdrawal motion, the motions to withdraw, have a look at that, okay? Not now. Stay here now. Okay, so they say, wow, this was one of my attorney's ideas. She said, I will never tell a soul. You can tell someone if it's to ask for help, only if you trust them. And if you aren't comfortable, I'm going to give you another person's address and send it to them with directions, please. Either way, do not talk about it on the phone or visit. You can say I got your letter. If you can do it, just say yes. I want you to send me a visiting form when you get to. And now that one word up there, you guys, that one, when you get to, and I don't know if it's TCI or if it's like here or I don't know what that one word is. You see at the top left there? I'm not sure. If you know, let me know. Anyway, so, and if not, then say you need that address for my friend and I'll figure out who Plan B is and give you a name and address to forward it to. I know that all sounds cryptic, because it is. When she says SP question mark, it's when she's questioning her own spelling for a word. She says, I know it all sounds cryptic, because it is. Lol, we are trying to make a stir. And she says we. We are trying to make a stir. Like, who is she talking about? We. Anyway, we are trying to make a stir, a big stir, to show just how wrong things are. But I need help, because there's only so much I can do in here. First, you need to know I did not kill Lynn, nor did I assist, nor did I ever steal a dime from her. Ever. My old charges are that. Old, dumb, and young. So, old and young and dumb at the same time. Right. And then she says, love ya, Jessy. And thank you for everything. So Kat says TCI is the name of the jail, I believe. I was wondering if it's the name of the jail, but is it? Because it's the Waukesha County jail, but maybe it's called TCI. I don't know. So now this page, directions. Ooh, embrace yourselves. Directions. She says, this is what I need. Do you remember hearing about the park, Whitnell Park? Now, do you guys remember hearing about the park? Do you? In all her, if you watched the trial with us, remember when it was the police interrogation or police interviews? In one of those police interviews, she talked about burying something in a park where she buried her bunny and all kinds of crap, okay? I will read this later. Thank you so much. So, do you remember hearing about the park, Whitnell Park, where I buried things? That was 100% true. All she should say now is, I swear to God, and we'll be like, yeah, 100% true, right? The difference is 6 months later on. So I regularly went on walk there daily. That area was prone to flooding and the bag was sticking out one day. So I dug it out and ended up throwing away. Only one person knows that, my attorney. Everyone else believes it's in the park or never was. Well, you don't know, Jessy. You don't know what everyone else believes, okay? So they say that area was prone to flooding and the bag was sticking out. So I dug it out and ended up throwing away. Lies. Everyone else believes it's in the park or never was. It was part of the gun. Visine bottles Lynn had dated from her mom's death. I never told anyone that. Notarized papers of hers and a cassette. Again, spelling, question mark. Tape, old school voice reading of Lynn. All confession stuff that I kept hidden. And she spells quiet as a quite. Okay? All confession stuff that I kept hidden and quiet. I don't know if I ever told you about Lynn's mom or if you heard when Donna tried to bring it up in court. Oh, now she's referring to her attorney as Donna. Okay, not Donna Adelson, okay. Donna Kuchler, different Donna. We might talk about Donna Adelson later. I actually have a second stream planned for today, but it depends on how long the sentencing hearing is, okay? So they say, when Donna tried to bring it up in court and the judge shot it down. The state requested her mom's records, but never turned them over. While I was in prison in 2013, Lynn's mom died. She gave her Visine in her tea. Okay, now Jessy is saying that Lynn poisoned her own mother with Visine. We've heard it before throughout the trial, but here she's literally doing it again. Oh my word. So she says she gave her Visine in her tea when she cut her out of her will, when she found out her mom, she was stealing her money. Her mom died. She got dizzy and fell downstairs. No autopsy was done. But she was always afraid. I didn't know this till after Lynn's passing. That's why she gave money away. It haunted her. Also, how and why she started drinking it. First was to die, but it didn't happen. She had been drinking for months. I didn't know till the end. But it numbed her pain and helped her sleep. She was an insomniac and Xanax wasn't helping her to sleep anymore. Okay, sorry, it's complicated, yes, and I'm at blame because I didn't save the stuff. But at the time, what did I need it for? And I didn't want anyone knowing what I found out. So here's what I'm trying to do. Recreate that stuff. So let me just quickly break it down for you. That literally, she's trying to get her friend to recreate the fake bag that she made up in one of her police interviews, okay? She wants her to create this baggie and hand it over to the judge. Wow. Okay, so Treelim said TCI equals, oh no, I have to say that word again, I remember now. The Taichida Correctional Institute, only women's prison in Wisconsin. Thank you, Tree Limb. So it is TCI. Thank you so much. So here she says, this is unbelievable, these instructions, right? So here's what I'm trying to do, recreate that stuff. I did what I could. I wrote up the letters, will, etc. And I signed all the names, dates, etc. I need someone to look online for a notary stamp. Not to buy. There are places that will show you finished product. You put in name on what it should say, and you can copy and paste. You may need to look at a few, but they have when you can new sample. Then you take the pages I wrote, copy them a few times, make a little lighter, then line up for notary and print more notary around, angle, turn, so forth, so it's not lined up perfectly. Make it look good. Yes, I used to make documents for people. Sounds crazy, but true. I was good at it. We know she was good at fraud. That's why she got all the fraud charges. She says, those bank ones were Lynn's doing. I didn't make those mistakes. Anyway, sorry. Then when done, copy the whole page again. So it's a full copy, not original, so nobody knows the notary seal wasn't a real stamp. All I need is 2 different names for notary. One on 1 page, the other one on 3 pages. These are real people who worked at her bank years ago who actually notarized papers on these set dates. And I have those other papers here with the signature, dates, all. That's how I did this. I just need the notary and copies, please. Explained with the pages. Now, there's one more part I'm trying to get with that. Are you ready, you guys? I can't do anything on the Visine bottles because those bottles are way too old that none in stores would match. And the gun piece, they know she had bought it, so it doesn't matter. It's the cassette tape. I need to see if someone would make a voice tape. I know this is crazy, but I gotta try. It's worth it because it's my life. If I could, I would. They would suspect my mom. That's why I can't have her. Nobody has her. So she says nobody has Lynn on voice recording. She has an older, raspy smoker's cough and was sick, female voice. Always coughing and smoking. I feel like there's programs online to change voices. There's so much technology these days. She was sick and did it 2 days before her death. Nobody's gonna know if it's her or not. It's been 5 years. And I have the working for that recording. Sorry, I think it's wording. I have the wording for that recording. Honestly, you could even have a movie or music on in the background to help distract. She always had one on loud. I would just be cautious that it's music. She loved Gaga or a movie from before her death if you do that, so it doesn't raise a red flag. Listen, Jessy, all the red flags have already been raised. Wow. Okay, like Pretty Woman, Miss Doubtfire, Wizard of Oz would be ideal, her favorite. Now, what do you think? Hold on. Think about it, please. Shame. This poor friend must have been like, wait, what? So, this was written on November 26th. Let me quickly just fetch this for you. So Jessy was found guilty on November 14th of 2023, and this was written on November 26th, which is what it said in the beginning. When I started reading this on page 1, they told us when it was written, and it didn't go out via jail mail, according to Jessy. So that would mean somebody helped her get it out, which speculatively could be one of her attorneys. We just don't know. We'll have to hear what happens today. And so she said that her friend must really hurry up and do all this stuff because she needs it before sentencing. So she took all the papers that she had, that she was scribbling on during the trial. She took that pile of papers, her little trial notes. We'll see some of them today, so we'll also know what she was writing, what she was scribbling. But then she was like, thinking the whole time about this. I would speculate. I know I'm speculating now by saying she was, because I don't know but we saw her like frowning and thinking and scribbling. And I was like, what the hell is she writing? And then this letter comes out, right? She was found guilty unanimously by a jury on November 14th. This letter was dated November 26th. So anyway, so then she says, things you need. Computer, paper envelopes, stamps, address labels, cassette, old school, cheap ones, able to record voice, gloves, must. If you help. Make sure you wear gloves because you are not getting in trouble. You're helping me. When it's done, which I need ASAP, before December 7th sentencing, the sooner the better. If there's an easy way, and if possible, I'd like copies of the tapes, but if it's too much or too hard, just one is fine. Anything you buy, do at a store, not in Waukesha, and with cash at like Walmart. And there's the Walmart, you guys. We knew it. Okay. She says, go and buy it with cash at Walmart self-checkout. That's me being extra careful. The finish goal is to get finished letters and tape mailed to Judge Dorow. If there's more, to others too. If not, just a basic letter to others. So she wants her friend to do all of this, okay? Notarize pages and make a weird recording pretending to be Lynn 2 days before her death, pretending that it's a suicide recording. And she wants this sent to Attorney Donna Kuchler, Attorney Pablo, she wrote Galviz or Galvix, I don't know, Galviz, but it's Galaviz. She corrects it later. Waukesha DA's office, TMJ News 4, CBS News 58, ABC News 12, Court TV, Fox 6 News, Tony Evers Governor, and she says 11 people total with judge. Okay then. Then she says for everyone and judge, sample. So she's giving her friend now instructions of how to do this. Something like that. Don't say who you are, just a concerned citizen. To whom it may concern. Regarding Jessy Kurczewski, and interestingly, you guys, she calls it the Visine trial. I mean, it's called the eye drops murder trial, right? That's what it is on social media. The Jessy Kurczewski trial. She calls it Visine trial. Okay then. Now, this is a letter that Jessy's asking her friend Jessica to write. To whom it may concern. Now just listen to this crap. Are you ready? I have watched this trial from the beginning. I never met this girl, Jessy Kurczewski. But what I can tell you is this story's crazy. Anybody who has a brain cell can tell you that this girl didn't do that. And what those jurors didn't hear, or what the judge didn't allow, makes no sense. You're talking about this girl's whole life because Lynn took her own life. How is that murder? This was a total setup if I ever saw one by Waukesha County. Well, I spent 3 days in the park, Whitnall Park. Why the detectives never took her to the park? They yelled at her repeatedly about not understanding why she wouldn't tell them if she had evidence. So she does, and they don't even take her with them again. Are you serious? I can't even fathom how a jury convicted her on what? Lies, really, that doesn't make you a murderer. Point being, after digging around for 3 days, I found her evidence and sent the tape cassette plus papers to the judge in this case. Dorow, the bottles of Visine, and a piece of gun have no bearing, so I didn't include, but this girl is to be sentenced to life for a crime that never happened and that she didn't do. I enclosed a copy of the letter for you, but what I want to know is, what are you going to do about this? And she actually underlines that. Oh my word, Mary's in the house. Mary Dishler, you said, my pleasure for the documents, Grizzly family. Mary, thank you so much. Did you guys see Mary in the chat? Wait, I'm looking. Really appreciate it. So nice to be able to read this whole document. I don't know why all these news channels that have it put out these little snippets. Like, put out the whole thing, man. So thank you, Mary, for taking time and your gas, time, gas money, everything to go there and get this for us. Really appreciate it. So, for everyone and Judge Sample, we read this, right? She says, what are you going to do about this? Can you believe how she likes to pretend to be people, right? Well, we know she's a fraudster, so it makes sense. So now she says, burn, destroy all papers when done. She should have just said like Roberta Laundrie, burn after reading. Anyway, do not talk about on phone or visit. Make only one tape for Dorow, the judge, if you can copy the other pages for everyone and her too. Send letters and a letter to Governor Evers, Attorney Donna Kuchler, Attorney Pablo Galaviz, so there she can spell his name. WI Attorney General Josh Cowell, Court TV, 125864 news stations, in the Waukesha DA's office, and she says, wear gloves for all. This is my fight and chance to stir the pot. Early. Will you help me? I will never say a word, and I will give you a chunk of money if or when I ever get out. Because it's a big favor. And if not, I understand, really. Okay, so the sentencing hearing is set to start in half an hour. So I think we're doing pretty well with the pace. Now, she said, that's why I'm powering through. I don't want to miss the sentencing hearing. I'd love to time this perfectly, actually. So let's keep going, okay? We can pick it apart another time. So, tape recording to record. Get ready. It gets worse. This letter gets worse as we go along. And you can then see all the pieces that she's trying to formulate in her very weird little mind. Now she wants her friend to do this. Tape recording to record. Now she wants the friend to record on a cassette, right, this message, pretending to be Lynn in a smoker's voice and coughing and all this kind of stuff. Okay. Jessy, I'm sorry to leave you like this, and I'm assuming you'll be the one to find me after all you've done for me, all the times you've saved my life. I know if it wasn't for you, I would have been dead months ago. You have been my rock. You're stronger than anyone I know. And now I need you to take care of your mom, for I know you did all you could to keep me alive as long as you could. I no longer recognize myself. I'm sick of being sick, complaining about being sick, and just sick of it all. Want to be free from the pain? And this is my time. I love you and your mom very much. Take care of each other. I'm following the yellow brick road to see my dad. Jessy, stop listening to this tape and put it somewhere safe and hidden. Lynn Hernan, being of sound mind and body. All I'm going to say there is, so she wants the friend to record this as if Lynn's recording a suicide voice note. But then you want to say, I, Lynn Hernan, being of sound mind and body. That's not of sound mind and body. Oh my word. This woman is nuts. Freaking Jessy. Okay, so she said, Lynn Hernan, being of sound mind and body, want to state, I'm recording this statement today on Sunday, October 1st, 2018. If you guys remember, Lynn died on October 3rd of 2018. So that's why Jessy wants her friend to say this. I have been sick long enough, seen enough doctors to know that I will never be the same, and I no longer want to live my life as it is. I have done things I cannot take back. I took a life that I had no right to do. Okay, so now Jessy's accusing Lynn of being a murderer, by the way. Jessy accuses her again of murdering her own mother. Right, so here we go. Sure. And thank you so much. Kennedy Kate says, if you need help transcribing, that's what I do for living. Super happy to help if needed. Thank you so much. You never know, we might need that. Okay, I was powering through this today. I'm like, go. Jessy's writing is like, oh man. So she says, I have done things I cannot take back. I took a life that I had no right to do. I'm choosing my own free will and on my own time frame to take my own life. I've tried more options than most, from purchasing a gun, overuse of medications, to poisons. I assumed poisons would be the fastest and easier. Little did I know it would be just as hard. Visine is one I stumbled across prior and tried without success, but ended up using it. I think she meant to say now, for almost 3 months. The way it makes me feel is something indescribable. Yeah, okay. My body is numb. I feel no pain from my constant pain, and it makes me tired, where I sleep a kind of sleep I haven't experienced in years. I became quite fond of it. Okay, Jessy, you want everyone to believe that Lynn became fond of Visine? I don't think so. Okay, she said, I became quite fond of it. It was a new medication to me. I enjoy my medications, and now Visine is one of them. At first, I was drinking a bottle almost daily, mixed in my water or vodka. Then I increased over time. I was purchasing Visine on my own for over a month until I could no longer drive or shop. I did stock up on it and had my caretaker Jessy. She did not know what I was doing until recent. Jessy is the one person who knows everything I went through in and out except my mother's death, seen all the good and bad. She has been there when I feel in the middle of the night, shit on myself, or puked and came to clean it up. She has caught me in the act of trying to take my own life. She has seen me at my worst and there regardless. I owe her everything for all she's done. Her mother, my best friend, and Jessy are my only family left and mean more than they know. I did the unthinkable to Jessy, and it ruined her for months. I lied to her, and I had her lie to everyone in the process, and it destroyed her. She knew I was suicidal, but I told her I was sick and dying from colon cancer. I didn't want to see people or talk to them, so I had Jessy lie to everyone, and I didn't want anyone to know. Truth was, I wasn't sick with colon cancer or dying. One afternoon, Jessy came to check on me, as her usual, and caught me unexpectedly while I had a gun to my head. She screamed at me, crying that when I came clean with her about not having cancer and lying. I lied to her because she was concerned about me being suicidal, that saying I was sick was easier to do. I never seen her so hurt, so lied to everyone. She knew and didn't know what to do now. She told me that I was either going to get help and go to the hospital, or she was calling the cops. I let her take me to Aurora Waukesha Hospital the next morning, where they admitted me, and I stayed for weeks. I wanted to get better for her, but deep down, my decision was made long ago, and I cannot go on anymore. My mom's death haunts me daily. Be Kind Tiger, thank you so much. I don't know how to do that from the Netherlands, so please be careful with that. But thank you so much. I did send a Amazon gift card, so thank you. All right. So Aurora, Waukesha Hospital the next morning, where they admitted me. Remember that she was in hospital for how many days was it? 2 to 3 weeks, right? It's quite a while. I can't remember now. Anyway, she says, next morning admitted me, where I stayed for weeks. I wanted to get better for her, but deep down, my decision was made long ago and I cannot go on anymore. Sorry, I just quickly want to, one more time, say it's very important. Remember, YouTube takes 50% of everything. Just remember that. So be careful with stickers and taxes. There's a lot of implications if I had to pass it on to someone. That's why we've got mod coffee jars. We've got coffee for me. If you want to send me a PayPal to send to Mary towards that, that will be okay. Okay, so I wanted to get better for her, but deep down my decision was made long ago and I cannot go on anymore. Can you believe that she wants this friend to record all of this with her voice? What? I can't wait for Judge Dorow's expression, yes. My mom's death haunts me daily. I tried to take my life twice while in the hospital and had a camera put in my room. I still wonder about that camera in her room, right? I wonder about that, but anyway, they say, because it's Jessy's story the whole time. After arriving home from the hospital, Jessy stayed the weekend, and per my discharge, I was to get in home care that week. I had planned on different ideas, but Jessy didn't leave me alone. Ending the weekend, came and went, and now it's today, Sunday morning. I took my remaining Visine bottles and put them into my last water bottles. I have stashed Visine for months and been emptying over time. I mean, does anyone even believe this? No, but Jessy, oh man, okay. Again, I have stashed Visine for months and been emptying over time to water bottles and now have 3 bottles full with only Visine, over 30 bottles, and will start drinking an extreme amount. That this will work as planned. I am choosing this on my own terms and how I see fit. No one played any part in this decision or acted on it. I chose to drink Visine and end my life. She says, look into my mom's death to better understand. I came into this world fighting like hell and lived a good life, and I'm going out of the world on my own terms. Soon I'll see my dad again. I would like it known that Jessy and Jenny are in charge of my final wishes. They know where the paperwork is and what to do. I want to make sure it is known. Yes, Jessy, according to you, Lynn would write that Jessy and Jenny are just so amazing, right? So, she said, just end it like it was still recording or like she screwed up. There's so much more, but that's all we need. Literally directing her friend to say all this crap. This letter is just so hectic, isn't it? It's so much worse than we ever thought. So she said, make copies of front pages first, black, white. Then find notary company. Some will allow a sample with void or wording in background. Look around. You'll find once you do copy and paste, then change paper in printer. I would print copies of letters, many first, then more stamp around and line up on plain sheet first, then use copy of page. When done with notary copy, page again. So full page with notary is a copy. And make a copy for everyone. Plus, if you could mail me, nope, never mind. You need an address to mail me something. And when you write, everyone, don't use any return address. This is all by a concerned citizen. It's easier, so you're not involved. Yes, attorney said someone could use themselves if they want, but that's too much to ask anyone. Easier anonymous, I think. I don't want them causing problems for anyone. Because they won't be happy. Because the bank people already said they did multiply notary pages and they are theirs. They knew there was many, not all turned into court. And add a letter like sample to all these people and just tape with for judge, only difference. Now this is just scribbles that she crossed out. It's like, it's from her, these are her trial notes. Remember, she wrote this letter on the back of her trial notes. So the first bit that you can see that she crossed out is actually Lynn's obituary. So she was rewriting that. She's showing a notary stamp there. Look how she shows. Whoa. Okay then. So we can move on from there. Yeah, Wist, she does implicate her attorney. She does. That's one of the big problems and a huge red flag in this case. And even worse, that the attorneys are not just saying, no, man, what the hell? She's talking crap. They're like, oh, crap, we got to withdraw, got to protect my career. That's a red flag. So then Jessy said, yeah, there's a lot of misspelling and grammar errors. It's okay to be like that. Wow. It's just unbelievable, right? So here she said, the next page, here we go. You can see the sticky note there, okay? You see the sticky note, it says Allison Pamperin item, whatever. That sticky note is to show her friend where to put the notary stamp. Okay, Lynn Hernan, being of sound mind and body, on this date, 1/14/2016, need to get something off my shoulders. The guilt has been weighing heavily on me. On Saturday, November 20th, 2013, my mom, Lorraine Mary Hernan, passed away just shy of her 86th birthday at St. Mary's Hospital in Madison, Wisconsin. Prior to her death, her health was declining with her memory. It was no secret that we had a very toxic relationship. She had been through thick, thin, and everything between. Oh, she said we had been through thick, thin, and everything between. She forgot everything, but found out that I had been helping myself to her money and changed her will to cut me out. She was leaving everything to her best friend and neighbor, Bonnie. I took matters into my own hands, lacing her tea with Visine bottles as seen on TV. You know, that as seen on TV still gets me. As seen on TV, I mean... And remember, this sounds exactly like Jessy. This sounds almost like a confession, but she's pretending to be Lynn. So, as seen on TV, I understand I had no right. It haunts me, possibly more than I realize as I'm starting to worry. I slipped after a night of partying too hard. I told Kevin I paid secretly for his silence since. And now it blocks the page, right? So she said, since I am too afraid of... since I'm too afraid of spending my life in prison, I will never forget how bad it was. I will not, no matter whatever, go back. I'm so sorry, Mom. Forgive me. Signed, Lynn Hernan. So this page is without the sticky note. Okay, so there are some repeats of the pages, some with the sticky note, and then some without, so they can show then what it looks like without it. Carla says, I find it interesting that Lynn's and Jessy's handwriting are the same in the letter. Isn't that ironic? Don't you think? No wonder Kukla wants to withdraw. And I'd love for that handwriting analyst from the FBI to look at this now. She tries to write differently. It didn't work out very well. So here again are her trial notes. Like, oh my goodness. I'm going to be posting this presentation. I'll probably put it on X, actually, formerly known as Twitter, right? And I'll also put it on to Patreon if you do want to see it there. So those platforms allow one to post a presentation like this as a video. So if you want to see that, you can check it out after the stream. So here's her little trial notes. And she is literally nitpicking, obviously, what the state's case was. And obviously passing these notes to her attorneys to be like, no, ask about this and what about that? Control freak, right? She said, attached to will, original in lockbox 514. I, Lynn Hernan. Now look how she types borrowed, begged, borrowed, and stole most of my life. Oh my word, she's so disgusting. Like this woman, the victim blaming is intense. It's really terrible. So she said, I, Lynn Hernan, begged, borrowed, and stole most of my life. I never had much, but I was happy. Then it all changed on August 19th of 2007. While in prison, I found out the one person who I could always call and count on, my best friend, my dad, passed away. And my world collapsed. After my release, I tried through it all to return to a normal life. I helped care for my mom, and that was my downfall. The things that I did for money, I can't take back, and I live with it every day. With all the money I had, most was given, loaned, or used for silence. I did get the condo that I hate. I'm trying to get a loan to sell for a side-by-side for Jennifer and I. Jennifer's Jessy's mother. And again, this is pretending to be Lynn. I also got a Jeep, to be exact. It's a 2016 Jeep Wrangler that'll go to Jenny too. My time here on this earth is coming to an end. I want a record for safekeeping so there are no issues later on. Bai says, this is so insulting to Lynn's memory. Sad, sad, sad. It is, right? All right, so she says here, 1, because remember this is now a repeat of the page without the sticky notes, so we're going to this portion here. 1, Jenny. She says, Jenny. Now she wants no issues, right? So she's pretending to be Lynn, saying these are the issues to resolve. 1, Jenny. I helped when Jessy was in prison and was out of work. I owed her from years ago when she helped me. It was the least I could do. I helped later on and off, rent, bills. She was given a charge, etc. On 3/11/2015, $5,000 direct from lockbox. 2, Jessy, money plus property while in prison because I know firsthand and so much more after. I helped with debts, rebuild a lot. She also helped me, so it went both ways. Checks was a big one. Long story. There's so much I'll be doing for both Jenny and Jessy before I check out. See, she says before I check out. Same language as well. Similar writing, same language. Like 3, Jim was also loaned money when he lost. And now we're going to see some more little trial notes, okay? We don't have to analyze this too much right now. We can at some point. Or you can pause and read. It's all little scribbles from the trial. She said when he lost his grandma's house to foreclosure, he had no job, no place to live, so I helped, but it was never enough. Linda drank more away. I loaned him money for bail, fines. He got me to that courthouse when I was afraid to step foot in the door. But he needed. I helped. Motels, hotels, bills. His down payment on his house and money towards a pool. He to date hasn't made a dent in paying back, and it pisses me off. As if Lynn would talk like that, right? From everything we know. I think it's Jessy talking like that, pretending to be Lynn. She said, and he knows it. He's well over $25,000 that he got in total to date. There are only 3 of the... Oh, and she lists the dates there, right, with the amounts on the left-hand side. There are only 3 of the large withdrawals. There were smaller amounts too. I kept track of all. 4, Keith. I gave money when he needed, but that was between us and it was from cash, so it didn't go through bank. 5, Kevin. My mistake of all mistakes. Okay, who got the most? All to keep him quiet. Why did she say that? True Crime Junkie, the OG says, I've never seen Visine in the as seen on TV aisle. I know, right? So she says, my mistake of all mistakes, who got the most, all to keep him quiet. He took everything and even more. The best part was his death. I mean, what? Okay, the best part was his death. But it was too late by then. He got my lockbox stash of cash at the house, withdrawals of thousands at a time from the bank. Even more cash with all the checks written as cover to Jessy. Long story. So there's a lot of long stories in this, isn't there? We heard those long stories at the actual trial. It was called evidence. She said, I gave all I had. I will never let anyone take years from me or send me back to that hellhole. So I did what I had to. Over $200,000. The money is running dry as of today, Thursday. We'll continue on. More trial scribbles. Okay. So if you just look at the example, she says, can you pull up the Marcus loan? Because I know they had her original 2 at one point, just like her address, because she had me change it when she stopped. So she was trying to direct her attorneys, what to ask, what to say, what to do. So trial notes, and then on the other side, it was dated Thursday, February 1st, 2018. My money is depleted and under $25,000 in all accounts. It was be gone like before the is over. It will be gone like before the is over. I will spend and give away all, including my credit cards. I don't want a dime left for creditors, medical, state to take. It's weird how she writes I am now instead of I'm. It's like I''am. I am going to meet with Mr. Diaz at BMO Bank today on loan and to notarize documents. I'll be making changes for final wishes due to my short planned future. I'm changing my living will to say that Jessy and Jenny and my last will plus testament to Jenny from Anthony and Jessy. Jenny will give Jessy money. I don't want her probation agent to get it for restitution. I want those two, Jessy and Jenny, to get everything because they are around the most and they need it versus Corinne and Anthony. Okay, Jessy. They come from a different world. I will always love them. They are my family, but we aren't close as we used to be. Things change, people change, that's life. Signed and dated, Lynn Hernan. I can't wait to rewatch all your comments, you guys. I hope that you are snarking it up, because I was. When I read this, I'm like, what? So again, signed and dated today, Thursday, February 1st, 2018, Lynn Hernan. So it's a repeat of the page. It's just there was a sticky note blocking what I've just written there. So many lies, right? Okay. Mrs. Melissa says, court should copy whatever prisoners take into and out of the courtroom. It's no different than being in jail. They're still incarcerated, should be treated the same in the courtroom as jail. They really should, right? They shouldn't be allowed papers then. Little notes they made throughout the trial or what? Well, clearly not, based on this example. More trial notes. Who can explain my lies except me? That's what she says at the top there. When I went out drinking, I had just had a night out with friends. The more I spoke to them, and she says, you just said this and this, correcting her attorneys. Now, another page, a repeat page with a post-it. I think we're actually going to make it. Ooh, 10 minutes. Let's go. Last will and testament of Lynn Hernan. I, Lynn Ann Hernan, being of sound mind and body, make, publish, and declare this to be my last will and testament, hereby revoking and voiding any other wills by me at any time, here before made. 1. I direct that all of my just, and I think it's oust debts, I'm not too sure, expenses of illness and funeral be paid by personal representative hereinafter named as soon as practicable after my death, in the manner provided by law. Practical, I guess. If I leave a separate written statement signed and dated by me, providing for gifts of tangible personal property as of the time of my death, and if applicable, law permits the making of testamentary gifts of such personal property by that means, my personal representative shall carry out the directions in that statement. Even if such a statement is not legally binding, I request my personal representation carry out such a written statement. I give, devise, and bequeath all the rest, residue and remainder of my property, which I may own at the time of my death, to Jennifer Flower, who's Jesse's mom. 4. I hereby nominate and appoint Jennifer Flower, personal representative of this, my last will and testament, and request that no bond be required of her in that capacity. In as such, I empower such, more trial notes, more trial scribbles, okay? Nitpicking what her attorneys are saying, what the state's saying, and trying to make the case better. So she says, a personal representative in that capacity to sell, lease, or mortgage any property, real or privately, publicly or personal, without any order of the court and without any notice, upon such terms of conditions as shall seem best, said to personal representative, and without liability on the part of any purchaser, tenant, or mortgages, to see the application of the consideration and to settle, compromise, and pay any claims, including taxes asserted in favor of or against me or my estate. I, Lynn Ann Hernan, the testatrix, signed and dated on the first day of February 2018, Lynn Hernan. I declare and acknowledge that the testatrix signed and dated her will in front of me, and it appears she seems to be of sound body and mind, done in person with advisor, Mr. Dyers, at BMO, Waukesha, Jessy Kurczewski. It's just unbelievable what she does. List of who gets what. So she says, Diana Lang, 2 antique pictures in the hallway, mom's great-great-grandma and great-aunt at 2 years old, born 1908. 2, Keith Langer, Richland Center picture, glass, dry, something from our grandma's time. Your other gift you already got. That's between us. Again, she's pretending to be Lynn. 3, Jim Kelleher, in China cabinet, crazy 8-ball, an ashtray, your grandma's champagne glass. You owe me something, she says. 4, Corinne Poser, hat pin, glass shoes, any clothes or shoes you want. 5, Anthony Poser. I originally said Jessy got the Wizard of Oz memorabilia, but it was you who got the most of it, so any you first pick plus any of my dad's you'd like. Stephen Poser. Babala. I thought maybe you'd like the old school pinball game. Now let's move on because there's a sticky note again, where she wants to show her. The sticky notes are to remember, that's to show her friend where to notarize. That's what the sticky notes are for. Unbelievable. Now this is the same as a few pages ago with the sticky note, okay? We're almost there. Repeat page again. And let's see, next one. There we go. Okay, so Anthony gets the Wizard of Oz memorabilia, but it was you who got the most of it, so you get first pick plus anything of my dad's you'd like. Stephen Poser. I thought maybe you'd like the old school pinball game. Cole Costrella. Your grandma's silver rabbit cane. Jennifer Flower. 2016 Jeep. Purse, sequin, rail. Swan ashtrays, stork ashtrays, birdcage looking lamp, gold cross with ashes. That way we'll always be swimming together. Wonder about that gold cross, huh? Jessy wore a gold cross the whole time throughout the trial. Then 9, Jessy Kurczewski, Marilyn posters. You loved them. Mom's charm bracelet. 10. Judy Kelleher. Jean Tennell. Lisa Watring. Work with Jennifer and Jessy to have something to remember me. Wow. Thank you, Grizzly Cat, for reminding them what I'm reading. I'm reading through the 37-page letter, and the sentencing is going to be starting, yes, in 5 minutes. The sentencing hearing. I really hope Jessy will be sentenced today, but let's see. Here again, trial notes. All kinds of little scribbles. And I think that's actually it. Let's just see. Yeah, that's page 39 of 39. So I still have one more thing to show you before we look at the sentencing hearing, which is this. Listen to this.
A Franklin woman convicted just last month of killing a friend with eye drops for the very first time. TMJ4's Miriam McCard joining us here in the studio as she talked on the phone from jail.
It's the night before her sentencing, where she faces life in prison, and this is the first time we're hearing from Jessy Kurczewski. She says she was forced to be quiet during the trial, but now she wants to share her side of the story.
Nobody got to know the Lynn I knew, the Lynn that I was there with and for daily, the Lynn that was my family that I loved and cared for.
Jessy.
So in case you missed it, that was literally Jessy talking to TMJ4 since this letter has now come out. She wrote the letter on November 26th. She was found guilty on November 14th. She's supposed to be sentenced today. So yesterday or the day before, she actually spoke to TMJ4 from jail.
Kurczewski has a lot to say the night before her sentencing.
I no longer can wait. It is time I speak. I cannot be silent.
Making the call from inside the Waukesha County Jail, Kurczewski reveals why she didn't speak during her high-profile trial.
I chose after many conversations with my attorneys not to take the stand, which I extremely regret.
The Franklin woman was found guilty of killing her friend Lynn Hernan back in 2018 by poisoning her with eye drops. The trial ended last month. Now, 3 weeks later, she's still claiming she's innocent.
Lynn took her own life because she was troubled by what she did to her mom. She said that in her own letters that, again, were in court.
Thursday, Kurczewski is scheduled to be sentenced. However, court documents show her two attorneys have filed a motion to withdraw from the case. Waukesha County Judge Jennifer Dorow will make a decision on whether they can withdraw ahead of tomorrow's sentencing. If the attorneys are granted their request, that sentencing will likely be pushed back.
Both of my attorneys are...
But it might not, because there's the third attorney. There's the other guy that was there in the trial for the financial part of the question, and he could actually take over. Okay? If it gets pushed back, it might get delayed by months.
Still listed on record, so legally I cannot speak to any other attorney, nor will they speak with me. I sit in limbo. I need to know my legal rights.
The 39-year-old is facing life in prison. While Kurczewski waits to hear her fate, she's adamant she didn't kill her friend.
There was so much not allowed to be brought up in trial, so nobody got to hear the real story.
For now, sentencing is still scheduled for 1:30 tomorrow.
Which is today, okay? Unbelievable, right? Miss Holmes says, Grizzly True Crime, she's reading something she wrote. We can hear it, right? We can absolutely hear it. So, now we're waiting for, we are waiting for the stream to start, which will be the sentencing hearing. I think it's going to be so hectic. I don't know, maybe it's not going to be so, but it seems like it really could be. Let's have a look at what Court TV says over here. She said, I cannot be silenced. Jessy Kurczewski denies allegations in phone call. Waukesha, Wisconsin, Court TV. 2 days before she was scheduled to be sentenced for killing her friend, Jessy Kurczewski's attorneys filed motions to withdraw from the case. And in a phone call from jail, Kurczewski said she doesn't know what will happen next. Kurczewski was convicted of killing her friend, Lynn Hernan, by poisoning her with eye drops. The jury deliberated for nearly 11 hours. Remember that? Wow. Before returning the verdict last month. Sentencing was scheduled for Thursday, December 7th, but the hearing is unlikely to continue as planned. Well, we'll see. We'll see. I still have hope. I have hope that today's sentencing. Okay. As planned. On November 30th, Donna Kugler, one of Kurczewski's attorneys, filed a motion to withdraw from the case. On Monday, Kurczewski's other attorney, Pablo Galaviz, also filed a motion to withdraw. In a phone call with a Court TV producer from jail, Kurczewski said that the attorneys withdrew because of an alleged letter that prosecutors have accused her of sending from jail. Well, she said it herself in the letter. The 37-page letter was written to a friend identified only as Jessica and reportedly contains instructions from Kurczewski. Okay, we know about this. Now the court feed is starting. Stand by, everybody. Bring it over. I need to boost. we know the rest. So I was just there it is. Okay, wait. I want to boost it. There's no sound on yet. But we can look at her. Okay. There we go. Right on time, everybody. Kurczewski. Not looking... How do you think she looks? She's in orange. The sound came on momentarily. So yeah, she wrote the letter on November 26th. Ooh, and this is going to be... I think it's going to be pretty epic. Come on, Judge Dorow, you got this. Yeah, Stefan says, a lovely orange shirt. So thank you, everyone, for bearing with me as we read through that letter. Really, really appreciate it. While we wait for the sound to come back on. Let me say, Kat said, good morning, G. Good morning, Kat. Good evening to me. Willow Wren, thank you so much. Tanya said, Grizzly, you are the best. Thank you. Pablo is not looking happy. Bab said, sending a hug and a thank you for your passion in bringing perspective and light to the ins and outs of these horrible cases. You go above and beyond, but you're also just so fun. Thank you so much. Okay. And thank you, Be Kind Tiger, Amy Lee. Really appreciate it. All right. So, and welcome to all the new members. Now let's have a look. Sorry, I'm all sparkly now. Ooh, Judge Dorow is in the house. Oh my word. What do you think is going to happen? Here we go.
Court will call State of Wisconsin versus Jessy Kurczewski, 21 CF 885. May I have the appearances, please?
Good afternoon, Judge Randy Sitzberger, Abby Nicolai, and J.J. Crawford for the state.
Donna Kukler is here, along with Pablo Galaviz and Ms. Kurczewski.
Although scheduled for sentencing today, late last week, the court received the first of 2 motions to withdraw from the defense team. Since that time, I've also had a response filed by the state, and then a response to that filed by Attorney Kukler's office. This, of course, all followed on the 30th, the filing by the state of what it labeled as sentencing materials. Now, I've had an opportunity to review those sentencing materials. Today, in preparation for that, I did ask my clerk, Teresa, to send an email to the parties indicating I wanted to review the original documents. I thought that was important given how those documents were described and what is at issue with the motions to withdraw. The state did that. Those were dropped off at my chambers initially, and I just want to make a record of this. All 3 of the state's attorneys and the 2 detectives were there, and I indicated I wouldn't talk to anyone without defense being present. I thought that would not be proper, and they indicated they understood. It's my understanding that there was an attempt to get a hold of both Attorney Galaviz and Attorney Kukler, and they were not available, and so they all left, and I indicated I'd let them know when I was done reviewing the documents so that they could go back to them. They were in a large paper bag, very apparent to me that it's being maintained as evidence. All of the individual pages were in plastic so that I could easily read through both sides, and was able to see what I believe, and I'll get confirmation of this, is the original envelope the state received the documents in. Anything the state would want to add to how I've described the receipt of the materials?
The only thing I would add briefly is that I did personally call Attorney Kukler. She answered at her office and said she was very busy and would not be able to make it, and that she was okay leaving the documents with Your Honor. I then tried to contact Attorney Galaviz and got his voicemail, but given the timeliness of it, we chose just to leave the documents with you and leave, as you stated.
All right. Attorney Kukler, since you were contacted, is there anything you would want to add to the record about that?
No, thank you.
All right. I think it's important that the court obviously address this motion before proceeding in any fashion with sentencing here today.
Yes, yes.
I have some questions. I don't think, at least at this moment, I have an adequate factual record to really make a determination. Both Attorney Kukler's office and Attorney Galavi's filed a motion. There's some reference to ethical considerations, but none have been identified. I've done my homework. I've very meticulously gone through my Supreme Court rules. And I think I've identified what might be potential issues or provisions of the Supreme Court rules. But I think it's important to note for everyone here, for Ms. Kurczewski, for the victim, for both parties, for the public, that motions that are brought before a court must comply with 80201. And I don't think any of these motions do. There's certainly no affidavits that have been filed. There's all conclusory statements that are made. I have denied many motions over the course of my career for failing to state a claim upon which relief can be granted when a litigant, whether pro se or by an attorney, doesn't present the request in a proper way. Now, it's pretty clear to me that, the parties have responded to those filings, the state filing first and then one in response, and given the nature of what's contained in the 37-page document, I have an idea, but I still need the defense attorneys to put forth a very particular basis. You could have filed an affidavit under seal if there was a concern. It should not be left to the court to guess or to assume what ethical prohibitions or ethical requirements you believe are at issue. The only thing, for example, Attorney Kukler, in your motion from your office is that it says professional considerations mandate. So what professional considerations mandate and what offer of proof can you provide to this court that, of course, is consistent with your ethical obligations? And when you address that, I need to also know to what extent you've discussed this with Ms. Kurczewski and what position, if any, she has regarding the request. So I'll start with you and then I'll turn to Attorney Galaviz.
Here we go.
I did have a conversation with Ms. Kurczewski by video conference or telephone conference, one or the other, and did explain it to her. And it's my understanding that Attorney Galaviz also discussed it, and she does not object to the withdrawal.
That's not what you said yesterday to the
If you've
news.
seen the filings, you can see that there is an allegation within the, well, okay. Taking one step back, when I was provided with copies of those documents and observed the originals, I was informed by the state that they believed that these documents were not mailed, but were drafted by our client and somehow taken from the jail and dropped off at the person who the envelope is addressed to, dropped at her house by somebody, that they didn't arrive there by the mail. And the suggestion within the documents is that, and the court, of course, could read that there's a request, and I'm not saying that these documents were drafted by Ms. Kurczewski, but the state alleges that they were.
There's an allegation.
They allege they were. And if so, Ms. Kurczewski has requested that this person who received this envelope that was dropped off at their home engage in what would be, I would say, illegal behavior. And the suggestion also is that, without naming the attorney, that her attorney supports or made the reference to the attorney supports this request by Ms. Kurczewski. And the attorney's not named. And there are only 2 attorneys that I know of on the case. And so,
What ethical provisions do you believe govern this conduct that you believe creates the conflict of interest?
well, I think it's an actual conflict because I've got the potential of being an actual witness in the matter that is been submitted, because I know what the facts are of certain things, and I'm an actual witness. Some of the documents that were submitted are handwritten documents from trial. They're on the back side of handwritten documents from trial. I'm an actual witness to many things that are discussed either in the trial with the handwritten notes and questions that were asked and so on. So I don't know how I can, when there's a possible allegation of professional misconduct, because that would certainly be professional misconduct if I somehow took an envelope from Ms. Kurczewski and knowingly delivered it to somebody, knowing that there was a request that that person commit a violation of the law. That would be illegal and a professional misconduct. So that's why I'm asking, I believe withdrawal is mandatory.
Now, I know in your motion, you cited the permissive provision of the rules of professional responsibility.
Quick pause. Why can't Donna just say, it's an allegation, it's crap, we don't want to represent it or something, you know what I mean? It just seems like she's seeming like, oh dear, what she's accused me of is very bad for my career. You know what I mean? Like, why can't you continue on? Lawyers, can you let me know? It's sounding almost like she feels guilty. I don't know how else to say it.
Under 20:1.16 sub B, indicating that there would not be actual prejudice because Attorney Galaviz would remain on. And obviously, he's now filed a motion himself.
Right, and so at this point, I would cite to 20:1.16A1.
Are you aware of any filing or request that any Office of Lawyer Regulation look into any of the conduct that's described in the filing from the state, this 37-page filing?
I haven't been contacted by the Office of Lawyer Regulation at this point in time.
Before I turn to Attorney Galaviz to get his take on some of this, I need to know from the state, you take great pains into, kind of painting this picture that you're no way, putting anything on any of these attorneys. I very clearly understand the state's position in terms of who you think wrote this, but this filing leaves a lot of questions for the court. I don't know how this person who turned this over, I don't know who it is. I know there's some names on it. I don't know if that's the actual individuals. I don't know if you're doing or if law enforcement is investigating this for any potential criminal violations, whether it's a conspiracy or anything like that. So I need a little bit more information from the state as to, how this information was turned over to authorities, and then how it came to the court.
Thank you, Your Honor, and I'll just give a full recitation of how the state came to be in possession of these documents. On Monday, November 27th, Detective Plennis emailed the state's 3 prosecutors here and notified us of this document that was dropped off at the Sheriff's Department approximately 3:00 a.m. on that Sunday, November 26th. It was dropped off by the person whose name was on the receiving part of the folder, who we've redacted. It is a woman who Detective Plennis has spoken to and has learned that that person served at least a brief amount of time in the Waukesha County Jail with Ms. Kurczewski. We believe that individual was present for at least one day, if not more than one day, of the trial here, who had visits at the jail with Ms. Kurczewski by video, not in-person contacts, and had phone contacts with Ms. Kurczewski through Ms. Kurczewski's jail phone calls. So that individual basically was a person who was trying to support Ms. Kurczewski insofar as she knew what it was to be a criminal defendant and know what it was to either not have a great deal of support or need support, and wanted to support Ms. Kurczewski while the trial was going on. She came home on the 25th of November, that Saturday, and was informed that this package had been dropped off with her. She has apparently a service through the mail where she was able to determine it was not delivered by the Postal Service, but somebody dropped it off in the envelope that Your Honor has seen. We took note, obviously, with that story that the envelope, though it does have 2 stamps on it, not counting the Waukesha County Jail stamp, there are no Postal Service markings over those stamps as you would typically.
Quick pause. You guys, did you see this, by the way? Wait. Quickly, next page. Look at the stamps that were put on it. It's cats as well. It's 2 cats. I mean, we know Lynn had 2 cats. You know the whole story, right? It's just like, whoa. They are the stamps. I just want to show you what they're talking about. That's the envelope. That's the outside of what it looked like that was dropped off, okay? So I just want to show you while they're talking about it. Here we go.
See if it went through the post office. She began reading through the documents, became very concerned, was not sure what to do with them. She contacted her attorney from her previous criminal cases, who advised her to turn them into the Sheriff's Department. Detective Plennis was notified, I believe, early on that Sunday morning that these had been received, and of course he notified us, as I mentioned before. There is an ongoing investigation into how these materials came from the jail and became delivered. We don't know. I think it's fair to say we don't believe the allegation in the, I'll call it, cover letter of these 37 pages that this was one of the attorney's ideas. I believe that's another red herring or untruth by Ms. Kurczewski is our position.
But who dropped it off? Do you think it was her mom? Who do you think dropped it off? The attorneys, her mom? I don't know at this point. Amy Short is actually Lynn Hernan's family member, you guys. So welcome to Amy. Thank you again for being here and for the support and everything. And just know we've all got your back.
I can say with certainty that the attorneys themselves are not under investigation. There is an investigation into trying to figure out how these documents came from the jail without going through the U.S. Post Office and came to be at the recipient's address. That's the extent of what we know at this time.
I mean, in looking at these documents, I noticed there was no postmark. There's a stamp on an envelope that says this letter has been mailed from Waukesha County Jail with a date stamp. I don't know if you've been able to look at that to know if that's a legitimate way that they stamp it.
I'm sorry to cut you. That is a legitimate way the jail stamps envelopes. One thing the detectives are looking into is whether that came from within the jail. It is possible, perhaps, that somebody ordered a stamp to look like that. Detective Plennis did confirm that this envelope did not go through the Postal Service by talking to the postmaster, I believe. One other thing I'll point out is that envelope that it was received in was folded in half. There was a crease down the middle of it, while the paperwork inside of it was not creased, which would perhaps indicate that the envelope itself may have been included in a mailing, and that papers were put into it later. That's a possibility.
And just to, I guess, summarize, because these were some of the questions.
So in the poll that I'm asking you, who do you think delivered this letter to that person's house? Do you think it was one of Jessy's attorneys? Do you think it was her mom? Do you think it was, remember that guy that was on the stand who's friends with her mom? And we were a majority of the opinion that he was lying on the stand, saying he saw Visine bottles in Lynn's house and all that crap that he was saying. Remember that? We were like, oh my word, he's like lying on the stand. That's who I'm talking about there, or someone else. So have a vote.
That I thought were important to my determination here today. The individual whose name that I saw unredacted in the original evidence, shall we say, that came over to me this morning, that has been identified as the actual person who received it with connections to Ms. Kurczewski and may have, in fact, attended the trial on one or more days.
Yes.
Don't know how the information got to her other than it was dropped off, or how the information that the 37 pages left the jail, if it did at all.
Correct.
Look at Jessy.
Is it the state's position that there is no conflict of interest based upon the contents of this letter?
Yes. My position is that if this were to create a mandatory withdrawal because of the conflict of interest, then why wouldn't anybody who doesn't like their attorney anymore simply accuse them of wrongdoing, right? They could easily come into court and say, my lawyer told me to lie on the stand, and so I get a new attorney now. It would be too simple. There's nothing, this is a baseless one-liner in 37 pages that says one of my attorneys came up with this idea. I'm paraphrasing. But there's no evidence behind that. And I do think it's important to note what I noted in my moving papers, that Ms. Kurczewski has absolutely denied being the one to write this. So as far as representing her at this point, it's my position that the defense team need only put that forth to the court that says, you shouldn't consider these because my client says she didn't write them. And the court can decide whether you consider them or not. Obviously, we have a very different position on what these are and who authored them, but that's Ms. Kurczewski's position. I think this would all be different if Ms. Kurczewski said, yeah, I wrote it, and one of my attorneys did tell me. That would absolutely be a conflict. But right now, there's no conflict presented because she's saying she didn't write them. And so it doesn't put the attorneys in a bind where they have to defend themselves. It doesn't put them in a position where they have to implicate her to save their ethical considerations. There's a very easy way that I've put forth already that they can zealously defend her by putting forth her own position on this pile of letters.
Attorney Galaviz, I'll turn to you next and ask you if you can provide some specificity as to what ethical rules do you believe are being implicated by this, and what is the actual conflict of interest based on this filing?
Judge, all I can tell you is I looked at the filing by the state, document 567, contacted the state bar ethics, ran it by them. They said I should withdraw the case. That's all I'm going to say.
Oh my word. Judge Dorow is trying to get an answer out of them. It's like, nope. That's all I'm saying. It was suggested to me. I need to withdraw, and that's it.
When I look at SCR 20:1.16 that deals with declining or terminating representation, there is a section of that under a little bit kind of odd how it's numbered, but there's a small a at the beginning, and then subs 1, 2, 3, and then under 3, there's in parentheses a B, which I believe is the provision for which both of you are seeking to withdraw, that states, except as stated in paragraph sub C, a lawyer may withdraw from representing a client if, 1, withdrawal can be accomplished without material adverse effect on the interest of the client. 2, the client persists in a course of action involving the lawyer's services that the lawyer reasonably believes is criminal or fraudulent. 3, The client has used the lawyer's services to perpetuate a crime or fraud. 4, the client insists upon taking action that the lawyer considers repugnant or with which the lawyer has a fundamental disagreement. And if you look further down, there's an or. So it's not that all of these things need to be shown, it's an or. I mean, I don't have the benefit of knowing the basis for what you think is the conflict, other than there's this letter. It says not so nice things, but that's all. I have a denial, apparently, at least what the state is saying, that your client denies writing this. I mean, I could come up with a lot of scenarios where, you know, obviously many people watch this trial. Anyone could take notes. I took time looking through all of this filing, and, you know, I think there might be some circumstantial evidence, if you will, that perhaps Jessy Kurczewski is the author. There's content, there are the trial notes, there's other things, you know, but I don't know that anyone can definitively say that at this point in time. I don't even know if I should even consider this. I mean, that's one of the things. If I simply say, I'm striking this from the record, I will not consider it based upon the uncertainty and the ongoing investigation, how is there any conflict of interest?
May I speak?
No, not yet. You are still represented by counsel, and you need
Judge,
to.
I'm sorry, I'm just like, what? Okay, listen. She's like, may I speak? No, Jessy, no, you may not. Oh my word, things are getting spicy.
I
Talk
want
to
to
them
speak
first.
about.
No, hold on.
Judge, some of those papers in there have our handwritten notes on them. We know our own writing,
Well, I don't know that, do I?
but well, I'm telling you now.
But see, that's where an affidavit would have been really, really helpful. Could have been filed under seal. Could have given me more information and avoid what I'm doing here in court on the record.
Understood. We recognize some of our own notes from trial.
All right, so you believe at least a part of that filing that has what appear to be trial notes were contemporaneously done during the trial, and you recognize your own handwriting on some of it.
Yes.
All right.
This is unbelievable what's happening here, right?
You know, I've taken a look at also the confidentiality requirements that are applicable to both of you. There are some limited exceptions to what I would term as the confidentiality requirements between an attorney and a client. Some fall under a shall and some fall under a may. And even if I look under, and it's the SCR 20:1.6, says sub C, a lawyer may reveal information relating to the representation of a client to the extent the lawyer reasonably believes necessary. Sub 1 does not apply. There's not death or substantial bodily harm that you would be preventing. You wouldn't be preventing, mitigating, or rectifying substantial injury to another person. But here's where I think you could potentially be required, or at least asked to reveal, when it would be to prevent, mitigate, or rectify substantial injury to the financial interest or property of another that is reasonably certain to result or has resulted from the client's commission of a crime or fraud in furtherance of which the client has used the lawyer's services. Even if you believe there's some unwitting use of your services, the fact that part of these crimes for which your client now stands convicted involves theft from the estate and there's a pending probate case, I think one could argue that what's in this letter, if true, because I think for purposes of the motion, I have to assume that it's true. I don't think I'm going to give you all the benefit. It's just for purposes of the withdrawal, Ms. Kurczewski, right? Your attorneys have asked to withdraw. I have to base it on some facts. And hold on.
I haven't had representation in the last week, though, and I need to be able to
Ms.
speak to that.
Kurczewski, now's not the time.
Oh my word. She's getting like, you know, in tantrum mode here. This is very hectic. Isn't this, I've never seen anything like this. Thank you all for being here, by the way. And yes, I'm going to pause sometimes. That's what we do over here. If you want to see a faceless, no commentary, no nothing, you know, you can go elsewhere.
You will be given an opportunity, but I need to have facts upon which this decision of mine, which is a very important decision, be made. Counsel and defendants oftentimes have a disagreement on strategy. Relationships fall apart. That does not always mean that attorneys are allowed to withdraw, because as Attorney Sitzberger has pointed out, it would be so simple and it'd lead to absurd results if every time a defendant raised an allegation, whether it be an ethics complaint or criminal activity, if that were enough, we'd never have criminal defense attorneys, right? So there has to be something more. I'm concerned in this case because of the fact there's not a postmark on this envelope. And I'm concerned that there is an ongoing investigation as to whether it came from the jail, whether it came from you or someone else. There's other things it could be. Like I said, there's, you know, a lot of people watch the trial. I now know that your attorneys recognize their own handwriting. That's very concerning to the court because very few people would have had access to that. And I have to be concerned with the integrity of these proceedings as well. I read the cases that the that the defense cited, and in particular, State versus Miller. There's a difference when ineffective assistance of counsel and a conflict of interest is raised in a post-conviction proceeding, and what a defendant or an attorney, or even in the Miller case, there's a discussion of when the state raises a concern with counsel. And that in that circumstance, which is really not what we're dealing with here, that it can't just be fabricated to get, you know, counsel off of a case when there's an adversary that, you know, the state might think is formidable. That's what it's talked about in that case. But this is raised prior to sentencing. And I believe the case law is pretty darn clear that if I can find there's an actual conflict of interest or a serious potential conflict of interest, then I have to presume there's prejudice. That means I create a situation, if I make all those findings, that cast doubt on the entire sentencing hearing if I force attorneys Kukler and Galavis to stay on. That's what we're dealing with right here. And for everyone, the court now, you know, I'm right here with everyone. Is it frustrating? Absolutely. Do I want to get this case concluded? Absolutely. Do I want to get...
Oh my word, Jessy's like, yeah, believe me, Jessy, we also want to. We want to see that sentencing.
Give Ms. Kurczewski the opportunity to file her appeal, which presumably will follow and raise issues? Absolutely. I'm well aware there's rulings you will absolutely want to appeal that I made. One of which is the jury instructions. I get that. And for the victim, there needs to be finality as well. But it does no one any good if I ignore all of this, simply plow forward, and then have to redo it at a later point in time. I'm a big believer, right? Let's do things right the first time to avoid that appeal, or at least that particular issue. And I think there's an argument that if I ignore all of this and later on a court of appeals or Supreme Court says this was an actual conflict of interest, or one at least that rises to the level of being a serious potential conflict of interest, then that would likely be the remedy, assuming all other issues, would be affirmed. So I'm mindful of that as well. This weighs heavily on me. I've spent a lot of time looking at it. I've looked at the various ethical provisions. And while I agree with the state that it can't be just an allegation from a disgruntled or desperate defendant, generally speaking, there has to be something more. It is important, Ms. Kurczewski, that I know your position on all of this as well, because also in the case law, there's a recognition that even with an appointed attorney, if this is who you want to continue representation, that matters as well. And I don't know your position, so I'll ask you. I don't want you to comment on anything else. Merely, do you want either Attorney Galaviz or Attorney Kugler to represent you at sentencing?
I did. I do not, because up until yesterday, neither one has done anything for me now because they had halted all proceedings due to the DA conversation they have had. So at this point, as much as I wanted to get out of Waukesha County and proceed forward and go through appeals, I don't, because nothing has been done for sentencing except last minute yesterday. Partial. I have letters of character in limbo. I have nothing completed for sentencing, so no, I don't, and I frankly blame the state for that. They proceeded to release this information, which should have not been done, and it has created this mess. So while they are requesting they should not withdraw on their behalf, I don't think this is right. Everything has been done wrong since they have came forward last week with this information. And I do say, no, I did not write it. There's cameras all over this jail. There's recorded phone calls. There's a lot of issues here that, no, everything should be stopped. And I need to look at my legal rights because I don't know what they are at this point.
I can tell you.
No, I do not think because of everything that I have since learned, no, I should not have either attorney, which is very hard, proceed at this point, and sentencing should be stopped today.
I can advise you that even if I require them to stay on, I would not go forward with sentencing today because I'm mindful that there has been a pause.
Yeah.
And so knowing that if I were to keep them on, I would adjourn sentencing to give them time to prepare. Does that change your position in any way?
No, I don't think either one of them feel comfortable staying on, so I would prefer not to at this point because of the conversation or little of conversation I've had with both of them. I would prefer not to, no.
Do you understand that could be a significant delay?
Unfortunately, yes, I do. And that is more upsetting, and that is on the state at this point. They released this information. They made this mess.
Guys, I can't believe it. She created this mess, but she's denying even writing the letter. Who the hell else wrote that letter? Okay. So, and then she's saying this is on the state. They created this mess. She will throw her own attorneys just under the bus. You see? Oh man. Wow. And they defended her and victim blamed along with her all the way, which was disgusting to see. Well, she just threw them under the bus.
It should have been stopped, but they did this. And that is, quite frankly, very frustrating. And they have no way to blame but themselves right now. And it is very frustrating. It is very frustrating. And I was told walking out of the detective's office last week, just so you know, you probably will not be leaving anytime soon because of this, knowing I wanted to leave. I have not told them I did not write these letters. So again, that is coming from what? My phone calls? My conversations?
All right,
I did not.
We should...
I'm
going to advise you at this point that I've heard your position.
Yeah.
You should consult with an attorney.
I would love to. I still have two on record and nobody will talk to me.
making any further statements.
I've been trying all week. And I have a letter for you that I have tried to get through the jail, but I will not send it anywhere because I don't trust putting anything out there. So I have had a letter since Sunday for you. I couldn't send it. I have it with me today. Obviously,
I'll
I don't
accept
secure it
that
now.
filing today if you would like to provide it. And it will be uploaded and e-filed, and it will be part of the record.
That is completely fine.
Attorney Sitzberger, I want to turn back to you because the state has made this request that I consider this 37-page document, presumably because you believe it is relevant to sentencing, I guess, on the character of Ms. Kurczewski. Would I be wrong in that assumption?
No, Your Honor, and I would say that we didn't release anything. We filed appropriate documents with the court when they came to our attention that directly go in our position to Ms. Kurczewski's character, and we are duty-bound to inform the court of everything that's relevant to sentencing, which, as this court knows, character is at least 1/3 of the equation. So we filed those. We tried to give the defense attorneys ample leeway in seeing those and offered them to see the originals before we filed them with the court. That's all we've done.
But you made some, I would say, assumptions in your letter that these are written by Ms. Kurczewski and, you know, some of the facts and circumstances surrounding that. I mean, from my perspective, there's an allegation that she is the author of the documents and that somehow they made its way to a person with whom she has some connection. I mean, at this point, it's not like I can simply undo the filing. I know I referenced that earlier, and, you know, does that solve the issue? Does that remedy if I simply say, I'm not going to consider it? I don't think it does that given the nature of the filing. But the flip side to that is, why wouldn't the state want more information about it so that at the time of sentencing, if I allow it, it's more accurate? Why wouldn't I want your investigation to conclude?
In a perfect world, we'd all want that, Judge, but we're trying to balance a lot of interests here, as the court is. We know that everybody involved in this case, the defense included, has been going through this case for 5 years now. The court case itself, probably 2. The trial was long. So there is an interest in finality, obviously, especially to the victims and the victims' loved ones. We file things and we may never know the answer to some of these things. Now, perhaps time will reveal some more answers, but I can say with certainty that the detectives have been looking into this, I would say, on a daily basis, trying to figure out that gap in time. How did they... Right, and it's our position. The letter I filed was to put forth the state's position on these things, knowing that the defense would have an opportunity, and that's why we asked them to look at the originals ahead of time so that they could be prepared to file their position with the court. I think that's what the state does in a great many filings. In criminal complaints, for example, we put forth what we believe the evidence shows. Of course, there are allegations, and I can't prove this beyond a reasonable doubt at this point that Ms. Kurczewski wrote it. I can say that it came to our attention. We wanted to give the court ample time to review these documents. We were not just going to assume that at the time we filed these, sentencing would be adjourned automatically. So we've given the court a week with these documents from our filing date. And the detectives have been working hard to answer all of those questions the court has, and frankly the state has, and I'm sure the defense has. We just haven't been able to solve some of those answers. But we thought it certainly relevant that these were written on the back of trial notes, that they're dated, that they're made to look like certain pieces of evidence the state put forth as fraudulent during trial. Obviously, they're not those items because they were written on the back of trial notes. The letter purports to be from Jessy. She signs her name. I'm no handwriting expert, but the writing looked similar to what we had seen from her handwriting. And she's the only one to gain from having somebody file the things that are requested, a tape recording of Lynn Hernan admitting to being suicidal and essentially putting together a suicide tape and sent to your honor from a concerned citizen with no return address. The envelope itself, the return address portion, is a person we know to be very good friends with Ms. Kurczewski, and we've of course redacted her name and address so it doesn't get out there inappropriately, but That's not something we believe a great many people that could have just picked up Ms. Kurczewski's trial notes would know, and even know to include as the return sender. Now, detectives have gone and talked to that individual, and she claims to know nothing about this at all. So we may be left with no answers. At this point, we don't have them, and I don't know that I don't know what % likelihood I can put on it. I know Detective Plennis informed me today that he's had hours upon hours of jail camera footage put onto a hard drive. I believe it's taken up quite a bit of a hard drive so that it can continue to be reviewed to see if that lends any clues. But knowing that sentencing was today, it was absolutely filed so that this wasn't a last-second request for the court to review 37 pages and spring it on everybody as to what the state thought this was. I thought it fair to everybody to put forth the state's position along with the documents itself, along with the opportunity to review the originals. Because they were double-sided and a single-sided copy, it took the prosecutor team a little time to figure out a single-sided copy on what we were looking at until Detective Plennis had time to sit down and show us the originals. So we first offered that to the defense team before filing it with the court with what I would call a guide as to how to read it, given that we could not just bring over the originals to Your Honor ex parte and show you them.
Have you had an opportunity to discuss the motion to withdraw with the victim?
We have. Our victim witness advocate has been keeping them informed really over the past week as all these filings have come in.
Do they have, does Mr. Posa have, because of the count 3, does he have a position on this or wish to address the court in any way in compliance with victim rights?
You want to address the court?
Shame. That's Anthony Posa, Lynn's friend Corinne's son, who Lynn was very close with. Shame.
Your Honor, I've confirmed with Mr. Posa, who's present in the court, that he does not wish to address the court, but he's obviously very opposed to this. He's been opposed to a great many of the continuances in this trial, understanding that a lot of them are necessary, but certainly there's a great interest in finality to this case.
Attorney Kukler, I'll ask this to both you and Attorney Galaviz, but I want to make clear that I understand the basis for your request is you believe that, or let me state it this way, your request is made under SCR 20:1.6 sub, that's parenthetical B. Is that, do I understand your request correctly?
Yes.
And without divulging confidential information, you have made that request because you believe there's an actual conflict of interest here.
I do. I believe that. And you know, this court knows me from many years of practice and know that I rarely, if ever, have withdrawn from a case.
Thank you. Attorney Galaviz, same question or questions to you. Your request is under SCR 20:1.16 parenthetical B.
Correct, and the state bar ethics told me to cite A as the reason, but B could also be used. It's an obvious conflict.
You have cited actually A and B, and you did, as your motion states, you did consult with the ethics individuals at the state bar.
Correct.
And they made a recommendation to you?
Correct.
Attorney Kukler, did you do anything like that, or did you rely upon what Attorney Galaviz had done?
That's right. I relied upon what he did.
These types of motions are always difficult for the court, especially when the court has not only presided over what was a trial that lasted almost 4 weeks, many motion hearings, significant motions related to the experts in this case, and a case such as this where we don't really have any more significant crime than the crime of first-degree intentional homicide. And it's difficult because, like I said earlier, I don't want to set a precedent that simply leads someone to believe that you make an allegation against an attorney and that's enough to get that attorney off the case. Oftentimes when we're in the beginning stages of litigation, there's a little bit more leniency when it comes to these types of issues, and this is, I can't say unique, but the circumstances here are important to note that there has been a trial and a significant trial and significant litigation for a very serious crime, and in fact more than one crime for which Ms. Kurczewski has now been convicted. And lawyers, all lawyers have, in addition to their obligations, for example, for a defense attorney to their client, but all lawyers have the responsibility to be truthful with the tribunal, to have candor. And then, of course, there's all of these confidentiality requirements that apply to Attorney Kukler and Attorney Galaviz. And there's very, very limited circumstances that a lawyer is obligated to reveal information and then even permissively required to reveal information. And I mentioned this earlier and I took a look at that, and I honestly think when you look at it, it's really a stretch. I know I mentioned it, kind of to ask a probing question. It's kind of a stretch, though, to say that there's any requirement or even permissively that allows Attorneys Kukler and Galaviz to reveal information. They're officers of the court. They believe that they have an actual conflict of interest, and they've asked to withdraw. I know from my review of the Supreme Court rules that part of the ethical considerations aren't only to maintain that confidentiality, but obviously lawyers may not counsel a client to engage or assist a client in conduct that the lawyer knows is criminal or fraudulent. But a lawyer may discuss the legal consequences of any proposed course of conduct with a client and may counsel or assist a client to make a good faith effort to determine the validity, scope, meaning, or application of the law. And so, I'm mindful of that. I'm mindful of the rule that's been cited, which is why I asked for confirmation from the lawyers. SCR 20:1.16, terminating representation, sub A states that, except as stated in paragraph sub C, a lawyer shall not represent a client, or where representation has commenced, shall withdraw from the representation of a client if the representation will result in a violation of the rules of professional conduct or other law. Sub B, again, except as stated in paragraph C, a lawyer may withdraw from representing a client if the client persists in a course of action involving the lawyer's services that the lawyer reasonably believes is criminal or fraudulent. The client has used the lawyer's services to perpetuate a crime or fraud. Or 4, the client insists, sub 4, even though it's not the fourth one I've read, the client insists upon taking action that the lawyer considers repugnant or which the lawyer has a fundamental disagreement. I'm also mindful of what this filing actually contains. And when I reviewed it, it's not just a single reference to the attorneys, but on page two of what I would call kind of the cover letter to this document. It states as follows: even this envelope didn't go out through jail mail. My attorney took it. This was one of my attorney's ideas, and clearly they aren't going to tell anyone. On the second page, which is the third page of that cover letter, but the next page after that, it says, we are trying to make a stir, a big stir, to show just how wrong they are. Again, very general. And those are the references, I guess, to counsel. This filing clearly raises a concern for the court because whomever wrote it, and I think I do need to consider for purposes of this hearing that one possibility is Ms. Kurczewski, is requesting another person to engage in fraudulent and likely criminal activity related to the fabrication of evidence. It's been provided by the state as a request that I consider it at the time of sentencing under my authority and the criteria that I am obligated to consider, right? The three primary sentencing consideration, the Galleon factors, one of which is the character of the defendant. That's why the state has presented this information. This information, though, it presents many more questions at times than answers, some of which we've already discussed, including the fact that there is no postmark over the postage. There is what appears to be a stamp from the Waukesha County Jail. I'm now told, and I didn't, I guess, catch this during my review, is that envelope has a crease in it, whereas in all the other documents within it do not. There is information within that filing, as has been explained here today, where there's a verification that they are contemporaneous notes. Attorney Kukler indicated she recognized either her own or Attorney Galavise's handwriting on it, so there's some legitimacy as to how, or when I should say, that was part of this exhibit or this document was created, right, contemporaneously with the trial or during the trial. When I consider all of that, I think I am left with the inescapable and unenviable decision here today to make a finding that at a minimum there's a serious potential conflict of interest, perhaps even an actual conflict of interest. Looking at the authority in State versus Miller, this court must presume prejudice to Ms. Kurczewski in requiring her attorneys to represent her going further. She does not have an objection. I think there's an additional basis that there has now been a serious breakdown of communication and a difference of objectives between Ms. Kurczewski and her counsel, that this is a relationship that cannot be mended. And even though it means that this sentencing hearing must be adjourned and that new counsel be provided for Ms. Kurczewski, I am going to grant with reluctance, but I think it's the right thing to do, the motions to withdraw by attorneys Kukler and Galavise. Rather than reset a sentencing hearing today, knowing that this was a very lengthy trial for which transcripts may very well need to be obtained, and or new counsel review the live stream recordings that are available online of the trial itself. Certainly talk with Ms.
Yay, come watch with us.
Maybe even talk with attorneys Kukler and Galavise at a minimum, get all discovery information from them. And last but not least, to give the state an opportunity to fully investigate this issue and present more accurate information to the court at the time of sentencing. I do believe it relates to a legitimate sentencing consideration, but as it states right now, this filing, I think, presents some more questions than answers, and I think more time also gives the state an opportunity. I have to be mindful that both sides have the right to a fair hearing at sentencing. And it would likewise be unfair, I think, to the state if I simply said this isn't coming in as well. I will let them argue it, present it, and any additional information on it at the time of sentencing. New counsel can certainly object, and it, of course, will be up to the court at the time of sentencing to put whatever weight, if any, on that as I consider which or how to impose sentence on Ms. Kurczewski for all of these offenses. Given that it is early December and we have some holidays coming up, given that it may take some time for the public defender's office to appoint, because she does qualify and will continue to qualify, I will set this over to early January for status of counsel. I believe, Attorney Kukler, you filed a proposed order. Attorney Galaviz, did you file one as well?
Yes, Judge.
All right, then those both should be on my dashboard. I'll look for those. I'll sign them. And that will then trigger the public defender's office. Attorneys Kukler and Galaviz, what I ask is that you cooperate with whomever is appointed and work with them at getting all discovery to them and all information and notes that you have from trial to that attorney or attorneys, if that's the case, and do that as promptly and efficiently as possible so that there can be the fewest delays going forward.
Yes, Judge.
For purposes of the next hearing, although I'm allowing you to withdraw, if discovery has not been turned over to successor counsel, I'm requiring both of you to come to that next hearing with discovery that you have, just in the event it didn't take place. It's my way of enforcing that.
We will send ours electronically to whoever is appointed.
Even including trial notes and things of that nature that you would give to successor counsel?
We have everything ready electronically for
Okay, very
counsel.
well. Then I'll take your word as an officer of the court that that will be done, and that can probably be done very quickly then. But again, if it for some reason hasn't happened, then one of you at least should be here.
Oh man, what a turn of events, right? Jessy's attorneys, their motion to withdraw has been granted. Sentencing has been delayed. If you missed the trial, there is a playlist for you. You can catch
Would
up very
everyone
quickly.
be available on Friday,
in the description
January
box.
12th at 10:30 a.m.?
That works for the state. Oh, I'm sorry.
Friday, January 12th.
Okay with me?
Yes, that's good.
All right, that will be for status of counsel and for further scheduling. And again, I'll, as soon as we're done here, look at those orders. I'll let you know if there's an issue with them, but presumably I'll sign them and we'll go from there. Thank you, everyone. That does conclude the hearing.
Thank you.
Wow, well done, Jessy. My word, I hope she gets more charges, right? Makes me so mad. I feel so terrible for Jessy's... Oh, not Jessy. I feel so terrible for the victim, Lynn Hernan's family and friends. This must be devastating. This is supposed to be the day that Jessy Kurczewski gets sentenced. And now instead, Now it's been delayed, which I think Judge Dorow did the right thing. I mean, we were hoping that she'd just say, nope, motion denied, let's just sentence her, or even motion granted, she's getting sentenced anyway. That would have been amazing. But I mean, they've got to follow. See, this is a judge that we need in Delphi. She follows the protocol. She follows what should be done. Wow. So, sorry, as I was saying, if you've never watched this trial before, it's very interesting, and you can see the playlist. We covered it in a very concise way with no lunch breaks or tea breaks or things like that. So you can find the playlist in my description box. The playlist is also called the iDrop Murder Trial. So if you go to my channel and you go to playlist, you'll see it there, okay? So I hope that you will check it out. It sounds like the new council might check it out. Okay, they can come watch with us. Replay crew and get all caught up. This is unbelievable. Also, I wanted to say that Jessy actually said to, I think it was to Law and Crime, because she contacted multiple news stations. I don't know if they contacted her. They probably contacted her for a comment, right? But she said it was really hard to sit there silent in court and listen to everyone talking about Lynn the whole time. I'm like, what? And I read that was just so hectic. KJ says, can a mistrial be called after a conviction? I know this is just a delay. I'm concerned they don't try for that next. And happy Grizzlyversary. I did ask a lot of attorneys on X about that. You know, could this be a mistrial? And they said, no, it will probably just delay the sentencing. So that seems to be what has happened. That's exactly what most of them said, that it could just delay the sentencing. And so the next status and council meeting is scheduled for Friday, January 12th. So I'm going to put that in my diary. 2024, of course. That doesn't, from what I understand, it doesn't mean that's the sentencing day, right? That's like a status update. Have they got more evidence of this letter? I'm sure those investigators are going to get to work now. You know, probably to get fingerprints and maybe some, I don't know, if there's like ring cam footage, or they're going to have to figure out how did that letter get there. When I put up a poll, I see YouTube's having some glitches again. When I put up a poll, 43% voted that they think that Jessy's mom delivered the letter. So whether, I don't know if it's her mom or one of the attorneys or a friend or someone who was released from jail, I don't know. But they're going to have to investigate that. But in my mind, in my opinion, Jessy wrote that letter because the things she wrote in it were very consistent with what she said in all those crazy police interviews. I mean, this just reminds me of Letitia Stauch. It reminds me of Sarah Boone, who's yet to go to trial, right? This is next level stuff, right? Oh my goodness, I did not expect that. So I just want to send a lot of love. Please be very kind to Lynn's family and friends in the comments. They do watch with us. Amy Short has been here with us throughout the trial. I am so sorry that this has happened. This is the worst possible outcome for sentencing day, and it's not common either. And it's really sad that a manipulative, scheming liar who has been found guilty of murdering Lynn Hernan actually pulled this off. You know what I mean? Like, she actually did stir the pot. She said she wants to stir the pot in a big way, and it seems like she did. But I still think it can bite her in the ass. There's no other way to say it, because she might just get extra charges. So maybe she was facing, I don't know, a life sentence. Maybe parole could have been on the table, but now it might, maybe it won't. Who knows? But I don't think that her letters and jail calls and things will ever stop. It's like Letitia Stauch. It just never ends. Anyway, so I'm wishing Lynn Hernan's family and friends so much love. This is a safe space. Please join us anytime here in chat. You are welcome always. And we've got your back, and we will be there for sentencing whenever that is. We will be together, okay? If they're going to show this hearing on January 12th, we'll be there. We'll see what's happening. I'm sure they will stream it, right? They should. It'll be part of this case. We want to see what happens next. And either way, I'll monitor that court docket as well and see, well, when is the sentencing? Eventually, when will it be? Also, if you missed the beginning of the stream, thank you to Mary, who went to the Waukesha County courthouse and actually got us a physical copy of the letter for us Grizzlies so that I could read it to you. I read you the whole letter at the beginning of the stream. There's so much that I could say about that letter. There is so much snark. But yeah, we'll either do that at some point. Maybe, I don't know if I'll maybe do that in a member stream, or we'll do it together at some point, or maybe wait to see what the investigation brings about. You know, who wrote it? How did it get delivered? Oh, man, oh my word. Yes, I've just said that. January 12th isn't the sentencing, it is a status and counsel hearing, right? So sentencing is not on that date. It's an update of what happened. It's an investigation update. What does the new counsel say? Who's that going to be? Oh my word. Now, don't go anywhere, because if you want to see me some more, I'm going to teleport you now to the next stream. We're going to go over... oh, it's a snarky day. Hold me back. We're going to go over Donna Adelson's latest complaints, where she says she sits in her cell naked all the time, and she didn't even get any silverware, okay? So we're going to look at that next, because that's also just like, oh no. Denny Dawn says, oh, you read the whole 37 pages? I did indeed. I read the whole 37 pages. So before we go, I'm just quickly going to give you a preview. Just stay here because you want to get teleported, okay? This is what we went over, all 37 pages. This is the envelope that they refer to, which you can see has got, I just think that's another sadistic thing that Jessy did, in my mind. I would speculate 2 cat stamps. After she killed Lynn's cats, 2 cat stamps. Those are the stamps you chose. I don't know if you have a choice in jail or not, but okay. So we looked at this entire letter that I transcribed for you as well, so we could see what the hell she's actually saying. So this is what we read through earlier. The 37-page letter, thanks to Mary, one of the Grizzlies, all right? So let's see, sometimes with situations like this, your sentencing can be delayed by months, which is very sad. It could be, I don't know, next year, summer. I hope not, but it could be next year, spring or summer or something like that. So we'll see. By then, maybe the Sarah Boone trial will start. Okay, are you ready to be teleported, you guys? I hope so. Here we go. This stream should teleport you to the next one. If it doesn't, I'm going to put the link in the chat as well. Thank you so much for being here with me today to watch this unfold. That was more dramatic than I even expected it to be. I can't believe what happened there. And she's going back to jail now, to the Waukesha County jail. So she's not free. She's going back to jail. She'll have to sit there for who knows how much longer. Get new counsel. I can't believe she threw her attorneys under the bus like that. Wow. So I'll keep you posted. Thank you so much. And I'll see you in the very next stream, which is happening in the next half an hour or so. I can't remember what time I set it for. But you're going to be teleported there now. And I'll get the documents open and ready. And then I'm going live. Okay? So when you get teleported there now, I'm going live within 15 minutes. Okay? So here we go.